Hello, welcome back to the Giant Papist, where we strive to judge not by appearances, but by the sanity of one's doctrine. This will be the Gospel reading and reflection for Wednesday of the third week of Lent. Comes from St. Matthew's Gospel, a very short passage, a passage I've read before in previous videos. uh, Chapter 5 of the Gospel of Matthew, verses 17 through 19. Right. So, at that time, Jesus taught his disciples and the crowds, "Do not think that I have come to abolish the law and the prophets. I have come not to abolish them, but to fulfill them. For truly I say to you, till heaven and earth pass away, not an iota, not a dot, will pass from the law until all is accomplished. Whoever then relaxes one of the least of these commandments and teaches men so shall be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But he who does them and teaches them shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. For I tell you, unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and the Pharisees, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven." Thus endeth the lesson. Right. So, as mentioned before, when we briefly went over this topic in previous videos, Jesus comes to bring the old law of Moses to its natural fulfillment in the new law of Christ, while discarding what had become obsolete. So this continued idea we've been discovering in our Lenten Gospel and Reflection series is the idea of fulfilling the law by honoring both the spirit and the letter of the law. There was a passage I had thought I'd come across. In the book of Deuteronomy, there was a corresponding passage I had been made aware of. It was somewhere. When in doubt, dear viewer, always look it up. Want me five. Okay. Maybe I didn't look back enough in my initial. That's numbers. I don't want to be in numbers. I want to be in Deuteronomy. Right. I did not find what I was looking for, but I can look in the Epistle of James for a corresponding passage. Maybe St. James the Just will lead me to what I am looking for. All right, so it was James chapter 2, verse 10. Ah, yes. Ah, yes. Yes. All right. So, yeah, basically what Jesus is saying here when he talks about relaxing the law versus teaching versus obeying the entire law is the idea that before Christ and after Christ, we do not get to pick and choose which of God's laws we want to obey. And Jesus stresses this by stating that if we pick and choose which of God's laws we want to obey, then if by God's grace and mercy we still end up with Him in heavenly beatitude, we would have the least place in the kingdom of heaven. Whereas he who follows the entirety of God's law and teaches his fellow Christians to do so will have the highest place in the kingdom of heaven because Jesus is the new Moses. Is the new Moses. He has come to fulfill the law of Moses. And to fulfill the law of Moses, while yes, he does away with what is obsolete, he nevertheless stresses the importance that we are to obey the entirety of God's laws. We can't pick or choose which laws we want to obey just because they make us uncomfortable or just because they're not hip or cool or whichever slang the kids are now saying today. And with that, we have come to the end of what will perhaps be the shortest reflection video because there was really only 4 verses to cover. You know, turning to the Sermon on the Mount for 4 verses, considering I talked about the idea of fulfilling the law before, I decided to focus on what I didn't mention mainly because I needed to wait till a trick horn video, to be honest, to make that connection in my head. And when it was made, I was like, oh, yeah, of course. This is what Jesus means here. But in any event, let us strive to not relax even the least of the law's demands. With that, this has been the Giant Papist. As always, like, comment, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you till the next video.